Let's be honest. When you're sitting in your driveway looking at one wheelchair van, thinking about building $1 million NEMT empire feels impossible. You're doing maybe 40 trips monthly. You're clearing $3,000 in profit. And the idea of scaling NEMT from one van to a fleet generating 7 figures, that feels like a completely different business. But here's what you need to understand. The US NEMT market is projected to reach $24.1 billion by 2028. That's growing at 9% annually. The demand isn't the problem. Your current capacity is the problem. Because while you're focused on driving that one van yourself, there are operators 2 counties over running 7 vehicles, generating $840,000 annually. They're not working 7 times harder than you. They're working completely differently. And that's the NEMT scaling strategy we're breaking down today. By the end of this video, you'll know the exact 5-phase system for scaling NEMT from one van to $1 million fleet. Not theory, the actual timeline, the specific revenue triggers that determine when to add vehicles, and the operational systems that let you scale without chaos. This is how you turn one van into a fleet generating 7 figures within 36 months. Phase 1. Maximize your first van before adding capacity, months 1 to 6. There is something about scaling NEMT from one van. Most operators add their second vehicle way too early. They're running one van at 50% capacity and thinking, if I had 2 vans, I'd double my revenue. That's not how this works. Your first priority when building a one van to fleet strategy is maximizing utilization of your existing vehicle. A single NEMT van can generate $25 per ride to $250 per hour, excluding additional fees, depending on trip volume and mileage rates. If you're only generating $60,000 with your first van, adding a second van just gives you 2 underperforming assets. So what does maximum utilization actually look like? You need to hit 70% to 80% capacity before expansion makes financial sense. That means if your van is available 12 hours daily, you should be completing trips during 8 to 10 of those hours. The medical transportation industry averages just 0.35 unit-hour utilization, which is pathetic. That's only 35% capacity. You need to be operating at 70% minimum. How do you get there? Contract with multiple brokers simultaneously. Don't rely on just Modivcare or just MTM. Apply to all relevant brokers in your state. Logisticare, Access to Care, Veo, Safe Ride Health. Each broker sends trip volume. When you're diversified across 4 brokers, your schedule fills faster. Build facility partnerships that generate consistent weekly trips. Dialysis transportation represented 29.42% of the NEMT market in 2024. One dialysis center with 15 patients generates 45 weekly trips. That's 180 trips monthly from one facility relationship. Those consistent, recurring trips fill your schedule gaps between broker assignment. And here's the metric that determines when you're ready for Phase 2. When you're consistently completing 160 to 200 trips monthly with your single van, you've hit maximum practical capacity. That's your signal to expand. Quick favor, if this NEMT scaling strategy is making sense, hit that like button. Helps YouTube show this to more operators trying to scale NEMT from one van. Takes half a second. Phase 2. Add vehicle 2 at the right revenue trigger, months 7 to 12. Moving to Phase 2 of scaling NEMT from one van to fleet. Adding your second vehicle. This is where most operators destroy their cash flow. They finance vehicle 2 before vehicle 1 generates enough profit to support the additional fixed costs. So let's talk about the actual numbers that determine when you're ready. Vehicle 2 costs approximately $35,000 to $45,000 for a well-maintained, used wheelchair-accessible van. Financed over 60 months at 7% APR, that's roughly $693 monthly. Add insurance averaging $400 monthly, and your fixed costs for Vehicle 2 are $1,093 monthly. Your one van to fleet strategy only works if Vehicle 1 is generating enough profit to cover Vehicle 2's fixed costs before you add it. If Vehicle 1 is netting $4,000 monthly after all expenses, you can comfortably afford Vehicle 2's $1,093 fixed costs. You still have $2,907 monthly profit from Vehicle 1 while Vehicle 2 ramps up. But if Vehicle 1 is only netting $1,500 monthly, adding Vehicle 2's $1,093 fixed costs leaves you with $407 monthly profit total. One unexpected repair, and you're operating at a loss. That's the cash flow crisis that kills scaling operations. The revenue trigger for Vehicle 2 is simple. Vehicle 1 must be generating $10,000 to $12,000 gross monthly revenue with net profit of $3,500 or more. At that threshold, you can afford expansion without destroying profitability. Also, when you add Vehicle 2, you're hiring your first driver. Driver wages at $15 to $22 hourly add $2,400 to $3,520 monthly for full-time employment. Your NEMT scaling strategy must account for this labor cost in your expansion budget. Phase 3. Build systems before adding vehicles 3 to 5, months 13 to 18. Continue to Phase 3. This is the make-or-break phase when scaling NEMT from one van to fleet operations. Between Vehicles 2 and 5, you're transitioning from owner-operator to business manager. And if you don't build proper systems during this phase, operational chaos will destroy your growth momentum. The first system you need is automated dispatch software. Manual scheduling works for 2 vehicles. It breaks at 3 vehicles. You can't manually coordinate 3 drivers, optimize routes across multiple territories, and handle real-time schedule changes without software. Platforms like Route Genie at $50 per vehicle monthly or Bambi at $69 per vehicle monthly become essential. Operators using automated dispatch complete 25% more trips with the same fleet size. That's not optional productivity improvement. That's the required infrastructure for your one van to fleet scaling. The second system is driver management and communication. You can't be calling drivers individually to assign trips. Mobile driver apps send trip assignments automatically, drivers confirm with one tap, and you maintain real-time visibility into trip status. Third system is automated billing and claims management. Manual billing takes up to 12 hours weekly for a 100-trip monthly operation. When you're running 3 to 5 vehicles completing 400 to 500 trips monthly, manual billing becomes impossible. Automated systems handle claim generation, submission, and payment tracking without human intervention. The timeline for Phase 3 is adding 1 vehicle every 90 to 120 days. Month 13, add Vehicle 3. Month 16, add Vehicle 4. Month 19, add Vehicle 5. This pacing gives each new vehicle time to ramp up utilization before you add the next one. And here's your revenue milestone for Phase 3. By month 18, with 5 vehicles, you should be generating $50,000 to $60,000 gross monthly revenue. Net profit should be $15,000 to $20,000 monthly. That's $180,000 to $240,000 annual profit from a 5-vehicle operation. The scaling strategies I'm about to cover in Phases 4 and 5 are what separate NEMT operators stuck at 5 vehicles from operators building fleets generating over $1 million annually. But before I break down these advanced phases, every week we send our NEMT newsletter subscribers the exact scaling roadmaps, financial projection calculators, and fleet expansion templates the top 10% of NEMT operators use to grow systematically. This week's edition includes the complete one van to fleet timeline we're discussing, already mapped month by month with revenue triggers and system requirements, ready to implement. The link's in the description. Sign up takes 15 seconds. All right, here's how to scale from 5 vehicles to double-digit fleet operations generating 7 figures. Phase 4. Scale to 10 vehicles and hire management, months 19 to 30. Moving to Phase 4 of your NEMT scaling strategy, doubling from 5 vehicles to 10. This is where you stop being a dispatcher and start being a CEO. And if you can't make that mental shift, you'll never break past this ceiling. At 5 vehicles, you can still personally manage daily operations. You're coordinating drivers, handling broker calls, resolving trip issues, and making real-time decisions. But at 7 to 10 vehicles, that becomes physically impossible. There's too many moving parts for one person to coordinate. The critical hire during Phase 4 is an operations manager or dedicated dispatcher. This person costs $45,000 to $65,000 annually, depending on your market salary rates. And yes, that feels expensive when you're netting $200,000 annually with 5 vehicles. But without this role, you can't scale past 6 or 7 vehicles. Here's why. Your time as the owner has the highest value when focused on broker relationship building, facility contract negotiations, and strategic growth planning. Every hour you spend coordinating daily trips is an hour you're not spending on activities that actually grow revenue. When you hire an operations manager, they handle dispatch, driver coordination, vehicle maintenance scheduling, and real-time problem solving. You redirect your time towards securing facility contracts that generate 100+ monthly trips, negotiating better rates with existing brokers, and building the infrastructure for vehicles 11 through 15. Your revenue targets for Phase 4 are aggressive. By month 24, with 8 vehicles, you should hit $80,000 to $96,000 gross monthly revenue. By month 30, with 10 vehicles, you should reach $100,000 to $120,000 gross monthly. Net profit margins at this scale are typically 25% to 35%, estimatedly. So you're netting $25,000 to $42,000 monthly. That's $300,000 to $504,000 annual profit. You're not at 7 figures yet, but you're positioned to reach it in Phase 5. Phase 5, break the $1 million barrier, months 31 to 36. Continue to the final phase when scaling NEMT from 1 van to a $1 million operation. Phase 5. The $1 million revenue milestone requires 12 to 15 vehicles, depending on your market, your service mix, and your reimbursement rates. Here's the math. A single wheelchair-accessible van generates $30,000 and $60,000 annually. Let's use conservative estimates. If each van generates $80,000 annually, you need 13 vehicles to reach $1.04 million. If each van generates $100,000 annually, you need at least 10 vehicles to hit $1 million. But gross revenue isn't profit. Your net profit margin on a $1 million operation typically runs 20% to 30%, depending on operational efficiency. That's $200,000 to $300,000 annual net profit. Not bad for a business that started with 1 van 36 months earlier. The operational requirements for Phase 5 are significant. You need a dedicated dispatch team, not just one dispatcher. You need an operations manager overseeing driver performance and vehicle maintenance. You might need an administrative assistant handling billing, credentialing, and compliance documentation. Your NEMT scaling strategy at this level also requires diversified revenue streams. You can't rely solely on Medicaid broker contracts. You need facility partnerships generating private pay trips at $75 to $150 per trip. You need hospital discharge contracts. You need senior living community agreements. These premium revenue sources improve your margins and reduce broker dependency. Actually, one more scaling strategy that accelerates your path from 1 van to fleet operations: acquisitions. Instead of organically growing from 10 to 15 vehicles over 12 months, you can acquire a competitor with 5 vehicles and establish broker contracts. An 8-vehicle NEMT operation might sell for $200,000 to $300,000, but it delivers immediate vehicle capacity, trained drivers, facility relationships, and broker contracts. That's 18 months of organic growth compressed into one transaction. The operators building $1 million fleets fastest use both strategies: organic growth plus strategic acquisitions that accelerate market consolidation. Now let's address the cash flow reality when scaling NEMT from 1 van to fleet operations. Every vehicle you add creates a 60 to 90-day cash flow gap before it becomes profitable. You're paying monthly vehicle payments, insurance premiums, driver wages, and operational expenses immediately. But Medicaid reimbursement cycles run 30 to 60 days. You complete trips in January, receive payment in February or March. This is why maintaining 90 days of operating capital is non-negotiable when executing a one-van to fleet growth strategy. For a 10-vehicle operation with total monthly operating expenses of $80,000, you need at least $240,000 in available working capital or credit lines. Required working capital. $80,000 times 3 equals $240,000. This reserve covers payroll, fuel, insurance, and maintenance during broker or Medicaid payment delays. Without this buffer, even one delayed payment cycle can trigger a cash flow crisis and bring fleet expansion to a halt. The operators who successfully scale to 7 figures understand this math. They maintain cash reserves, they establish business credit lines, and they never expand beyond what their working capital can support during payment delays. Moving to the common mistakes that kill NEMT scaling strategies. Mistake number 1 is adding vehicles before existing capacity is fully utilized. If your 5 vehicles are only running at 60% capacity, adding vehicle 6 just gives you 6 underperforming assets instead of 5. Maximize utilization first, then expand. Mistake number 2 is neglecting driver retention during rapid growth. Driver turnover in NEMT exceeds 64% annually. When you're scaling from 5 to 10 vehicles and losing 8 drivers annually, you're spending $24,000 to $40,000 just replacing staff. Build retention systems. Offer consistent schedules. Pay performance bonuses. Treat drivers professionally. Mistake number 3 is ignoring data analytics during expansion. You must track profit per vehicle, profit per broker, profit per route, and profit per service type. Without this data, you don't know which vehicles are actually profitable versus which ones are losing money. And the biggest mistake operators make when scaling NEMT from one van? They keep operating like an owner-operator after they've become a fleet manager. They're still driving vehicles themselves instead of managing the business. They're handling daily dispatch instead of building broker relationships. They're stuck in the business instead of working on the business. If you're getting value from this one van to fleet strategy, subscribe to the channel. We publish 3 to 4 videos weekly covering profitability, compliance, operations, and scaling. Every video is designed to put more money in your pocket or keep you out of trouble. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Turning one van into $1 million NEMT empire isn't luck. It's systematic execution of a proven NEMT scaling strategy. You maximize your first van's utilization. You add vehicle 2 only when revenue triggers are met. You build systems before scaling to 5 vehicles. You hire management during the push to 10 vehicles. And you diversify revenue streams while reaching 12 to 15 vehicles generating 7 figures. The timeline is 36 months from launch to $1 million operation. The revenue triggers are clear, the systems requirements are defined, and the path from one van to fleet is completely replicable. If you found this valuable, subscribe to NEMT, or the only media company focused on NEMT operators who refuse to stay small when the market opportunity is this massive.